together as an agricultural family. And we're going to talk about good things, about good people who contributed to the lives of all of us. So that's something we all celebrate. We're honored to be a part of all the families. Congratulations. It's good for some of us to be able to see one another. We haven't seen in a while. It's going to be a good time of fellowship. So God bless you. Thank you. It's going to be a great time.
Thank you, Commissioner. We consider it an honor to have some of the former Georgia State FFA officers with us tonight. And Jackson County is blessed to have so many. I saw Mr. Barry Tronic, of course, Commissioner Black is president of the Georgia FFA, and two of those are from a family that we're honoring tonight. One of the honorees, Ted Tolbert, his family held two of those state officers. One, his son Alex, there's Alex over there, and he was a vice president of 22, 23, and Mr. Ted's nephew, Glenn Smith. And Glenn's an amazing individual. I've had the pleasure of knowing him around 40 years. Glenn, that's hard to say, but it's been about that long, hasn't it? Glenn's brought a lot of pride and honor to Jackson County, serving as state president. He's on the wall over there. He's not cheap very much, so you look at him. Won the state grand champion steer show, and he was the president of Georgia FFA. Shortly after his distinguished matriculation in the University of Georgia, he took on the role as executive vice president of Georgia Academies Association, and arguably they have done good at it since, and I would argue that anybody. He carried that organization to a role of prominence that has transformed it to business in Georgia today. So I can talk all night about this leader, and he's a whole lot better than microphone than I am. So I'm just going to go ahead and get out of the way and call us Ed Tolbert, nephew. We're just going to come forward with some remarks and
Thank you, David. Best part about that introduction is he said I'm Ed Tolbert's nephew. And boy, I'll wear that proudly. Ed was a great man and just helped to shape and form so many of us, just like all of our honorees tonight. They've asked me to make just a few brief remarks, and I know I'm not the show tonight, so we want to get right on with this. But this week in particular, given that it's Easter, just a couple of things came to mind. You know, in the Gospel of John, chapter 13, it's recorded, we read that Jesus was in the upper room with his disciples. And while he was there, he took a basin of water, he took a towel, and he began to wash the feet of his disciples. See, he served those that he led with great humility. And later in that scripture, it's recorded that he gave them a new commandment. He said, love one another as I have loved you. Love one another, serve one another in humbleness. I think about the three men that we have the honor of recognizing and honoring and paying homage and tribute to tonight. Three men who have served Jackson County so well for so many years. You know, I don't think any of the three, they didn't seek glory, but boy, they served with a lot of humility and a lot of grace. Each one served in their own way. Thomas Weaver, Jack Shirley, and Ed Tolbert. Each one in their own way, teaching students, helping farmers, being public servants, working in unsung ways, often behind the scenes, but always serving others in humility. It's a joy to be here tonight to bring honor to those that have served us so well. We didn't seek the limelight. but they made others better by the way that they served, and that they served with such grace. Well, I hope we share a lot of great stories tonight, and I look forward to hearing those. But we think about guys like Dr. Weaver and his classroom and the number of students and ag teachers that he influenced and impacted. And Dr. Shirley was just always there, whether it was coming out after dark to pull a calf or just being a friend and a counselor. Ed Tolbert probably trimmed the hooves on every steer in Mr. Fleming's ag group and his FFA group for multiple decades. Boy, he was just right there doing it with in Ed's own way, but with humor and a lot of humility. So I look forward to what we have to hear and share tonight, and it's going to be fun. We'll have a lot of laughter, and I hope it brings a smile to all of our faces. But for now, let's pray together. Father, we thank you. We thank you for this holy week that we can be reminded of the one who gave all for us, the one that modeled humble acts of service and ultimately gave his life for us. We ask your blessings tonight on those that have gathered to celebrate the lives of these men who have served you so well by serving our community here in Jackson County. Through this celebration, we may be reminded of the impact that we all can make in the lives of those around us. We ask your blessing on the food that we're about to partake, blessings on our time together, and that you would be honored by all that is said and done in this place. In Christ's name we pray.
Can we get some dining instructions real fast? Thank you so much, Glenn. You did a super job, as usual. We'll ask now the families and those seated to the families of the honorees at these tables. Y'all enter the serving by the lines first. Now, we'll go through this little vestibule here. You'll go through the kitchen area. They'll have people there serving. You're taking place coming through there. The drinks are outside and the desserts outside, kind of help with the flow. So we'll go in the door by the front door where you came in, and you'll come out that other in that hall, and then come back to your seats. Once the families of the honorees come through, just actually just come on through the lines. Come on through. I think it's going to be a problem. So if y'all will start it off, billboards on I-85 north and south. And thank y'all so much. Estimated that over 50,000 people see those through the period of time they're up. And so it just gives so much exposure to Jackson County Agricultural Facility, and the Hall of Fame of being accepted. I also want to thank Jackson UMC for being here representing, and of course close ties to so many families here that are being honored, and they also donated some door prizes we'll give away at the end of the event tonight, and so thank you so much to Jackson UMC. appreciate all they did to supply this wonderful venue, and something that we wanted for so many years. I know the Ag Kitchen, they go back to Dr. Weaver, and when Mr. Ed was helping with the junior livestock program, always such a need. Finally got the finest facility in Northeast Georgia, thanks to the Board of Commissioners and their vision. Also want to thank my staff real quick. Ricky Reed, Larry Turner, who couldn't be with us, y'all be in prayer for him. He's suffering from upper respiratory infection and COVID, so he's struggling. Shane Hedrick, Tyler Roy, and our ride or die, my right and left arm, wherever she's at over there, Hayden Phillips. Thank you, Don. Okay, now we'll start our program. Now I'm going to call on Becky Knight, granddaughter of Dr. Jack Shirley, to come and make any remarks she wants to about her grandfather, introduce her aunt, who will speak and accept the award.
Hello. There's something special about growing up on a family farm. It teaches you the value of hard work, the importance of community as well as family. My grandfather, Dr. Jack Shirley, taught us that success is not only about hard work, though, but patience, persistence, and faith. The legacy left behind can be seen in the stories from those in the community that he served. The continued operation of the feed store, the land still devoted to agriculture, but most importantly, through his children and grandchildren, who have lives that are dedicated to service. Tonight, to honor Dr. Shirley, I have the privilege of introducing somebody who can be described by each of those qualities: patient, persistent, and faithful, and has the same servant's heart that he had, my Aunt Susan Hart.
Good evening. What an honor it is to be here. And on behalf of the Shirley family, we're just so proud because I'm not sure these seasoned cattlemen are gonna trust what I'm saying. So he said, that helped some. But once they got to know Dad and his skill and his down-to-earth personality, it worked out great. And he loves that so much. In 1957, he opened Shirley Feed and Seed to better support farmers, cattlemen, gardeners, and animal owners. The store and the clinic became a hub for the community, a place to come and get what you need, visit with friends, share a story or anecdote over a RC Cola and a pack of peanuts. Shirley Feed and Seed is still going strong today after 69 years. At the age of 50, Dad was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and it affected his mobility and forced him into retirement. But Dad was not going to sit still, and after his doctor gave him this fancy leg brace to help pick his leg up, he decided that wasn't working well. So Dad came up with his own invention. He had a dog leash, and he tied one end to the sheet, and he pinned the other end with a safety pin in his pocket, with a stick. And so this is how he got his leg around. Some of y'all remember that. He said, he's so proud of that. He said, this works better than any that fancy brace I have. And of course, it became such a part of him that we didn't even think about it. But when you're out in public and people see a man with a dog leash on his leg, carrying his leg around, sort of, it made for some interesting stares and some interesting conversations, and oftentimes it ended with a new friendship. And as you know, if you knew Dad, he never met a stranger. Although he did retire from the vet practice, he never retired from life or from supporting the causes and the people he believed in. He raised his family to share his enthusiasm for agriculture. Stone, Mark, Chris, and I worked in the store and in the clinic, on the farm, showed steers in the summer months, worked in the garden during the day, and had a pan of green beans or peas or something in our lap, watching TV at night. I thought every family did that, and when I went with my friends and they didn't have to shell cookies while watching a movie, I thought that was awesome. But it was a great way to grow up. However, when you're a teenage girl and you have a boyfriend, and of course we didn't have cell phones back then, and I like to talk to my boyfriend on the phone. And Dad would get calls, child calls. And so I often got in trouble because I would stay on the phone with my boyfriend too long, and he would get on the phone and say, Susan, get off the phone, there might be a cow in trouble. And so that happened quite frequently. And that's something that wasn't funny at the time, but now, growing as an adult, my daughter said, you have to tell that story. Like so many of you guys, I could talk about, have so many stories about that. Today, on our farm, we call Shirley Acres. It's the home of 3 of his grandchildren, and 11 great-grandchildren are growing up on the farm and carrying forward those strong roots in agriculture. Your recognition of Dad's contribution to agriculture here in Jackson County is very special, and we really thank you for honoring his legacy and for celebrating the values that he cared about: animals, people, serving his community, and always pushing forward the cause of agriculture. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Susan Beck. Appreciate that. Our second inductee is Mr. Ed Tolbert. We're going to call on Dewey Johnson to come forward with some comments. He's going to introduce Alex Tolbert, who will speak and accept the award.
Shirley used to come to our house, and the dogs would come up. I never could figure out how to get up a tree stand, walk the dogs with no. But I was there. All we asked to say about a little about the Tolbert family. I mean, family, it's their family. Been together so long. Known so long, done so much together every day. Not this couch over, last bunch over. I need to see St. Jay, go down out in Colorado and ski. You're saying, bring that cowboy skiing in Colorado. That was us. We've had a lot of good time. Ed, he knows that stranger leader. My first year as ag fisher, I got to go to Kansas City to the National Information Mission, and got my stuff in my room, came down the lobby, sitting around there dead, sitting out there in the chair, waiting, everybody came in, all the people came forward, said, y'all come on in, how y'all doing, where y'all from? That's just the way it was, he never met a stranger in his life. As far as I know, he never had anything, just the way he was. He could have been in Walmart earlier with the National Information Mission. Back to it, some of this stuff. My memory's getting a little weak. He said he was amazed in Vietnam.
That's why he was trained before he got over there. They needed more people to string in the wire, so that's what he ended up with. That's what everything was done with the wire.
Well, he and I like to aggravate each other a lot. And everybody like to aggravate him. But he said, he told me he was a medic in Vietnam. I said, well, I'm glad you came back to agriculture because I'd like for you to be my doctor right now. And the suspenders. Don't throw off your suspenders. Some things that's just it. We did a lot of stuff together. He came over to my house one time, and he didn't have the suspenders on. So he stood up, and his britches hit the floor like he shot him out of a rocket. He said, well, I guess y'all know what my problem is now. We got no acid on him. Sorry, Steve. The other thing about it was he never had laces in his shoes for the longest time. Finally came out that he worked for the state of Georgia. There's a lot of livestock facilities around North Georgia sales. And taking records, whatever thing, all that stuff, sitting back in. Well, he fell asleep one day. And some of his buddies unlaced his shoes, boots, whatever they had on, tied them together, tied them to the chair. So he tried to stand up, and that was a pretty big ruckus. So from then on, he took all the shoelaces out. A year later, I saw him with a pair of shoelaces in his boots or shoes. Ed was a big proponent of agriculture, and he loved helping young people. But probably the biggest joy he had was against Santa Claus. Somewhere up here, got a picture of my wife, big daughter, kissing Ed. One of his pictures. But he always came to our house, and everywhere else, being Santa Claus, it was so good to us. We We miss him every day. Alex? Come on up. Sit back.
See if I can adjust this. I appreciate those kind words, Mr. Johnson. And I saw this picture. I mean, that's my dad. I grew up. I had never seen this picture in all my life. Not ever. So that was neat for me to see that. I think even in the announcement, I've never seen those colors on him. I don't know that I like that red, but Mom did, I'm sure, so it's okay. But I appreciate you guys giving us just a brief moment and to think about Dad and these other guys, and we listen to the stories just so far, and the things that you continue to hear, legacy, and just a passion for agriculture, and just to, be a decent human in your community. That's something that I think is so true about each one of these people, and it's a good lesson for us, for me especially. Before I get started real quick, I would like to take a moment. Again, I am Alex Tolbert. I'm Ed's youngest son. I would like to introduce the crew that's with us tonight. Very quickly, my mom's back there. She's the one that keeps us all in line. And then I've got my brother, Shay, his wife, Crystal, and three boys up here. I've got my brother, Will, his significant other, Miss Marissa. She's got two girls here today. My wife, especially, looking very nice, mind you. And our two boys are up here at the front table. I know I got to be quick. I got two of the youngest kids in the audience. We've got Glenn, you talked to her from earlier, his wife Terry, my aunt Wanda. I've got Greta, Glenn's sister, her son Brad, and Susan. And you've got Gary Black right there. But it is a family affair. Hey, he's part of the family. He's part of the family for sure. You've been to our house at Christmas. I just tell you that, if any of you here, 243 Tolbert's Trail, about 12:30 on Sunday, you can show up, and if there's not enough, they'll find something for you. So we invite you at any time. I'm hardly ever there, but they'll feed you. Dad was always good about inviting people. Didn't necessarily always tell Mom, but he was good about that. But very briefly, a couple things about who my dad is and about legacy. And when I think about who he was, much like Glenn, we didn't get together, but I just share this with you. So, if there is any encouragement in Christ, any comfort from love, any participation in the Spirit, any affection and sympathy, complete my joy by being of the same mind, having the same love, being in full accord and of one mind. And here specifically, it says, do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than yourselves. Let each of you look not only to his own interests, but also to the interests of others. And I don't think I can say really anything much better that succinctly talks about who he was as a person. He was humble. He was selfless. A man of service. He helped his family. Right when you guys have already heard, right when he got out of high school, he's still helping the kids at Show Catholic Commerce with their projects. And of course, it wasn't long. He had nieces and nephews he was helping. So he's a man that helped his family, served his family. A guy that was so involved in his community with those kids and their projects, baseball teams. I know Will played more baseball than I did. I wasn't very good in other sports, but just involved in particular this agriculture community. Stone's here, and good to see you, Stone. It's a wonder we don't have a show going on right now. We probably should have put one together. Might have got cold here if we'd have done that. But just a man who really tried to serve his community and work with young people and help them to pursue agriculture. And then he went on while I was in high school to serve this county as on the Board of Education and doing the best he could to help set up the ag teachers and eventually, obviously, the kids through that to have what they needed to make this program the best that it could be. And we all know that this is a program isn't known in the region, it's known in the state, it's known in the nation. And that's when the community works together with really good ag teachers. And Dad was always a proponent of that. But a man of service, and he served his country just like we talked about. He was big on serving the country, but he was big on serving the people that were around you. And the thing about Dad is it wasn't what he talked about. It's just how he walked every day in his life. That's the legacy for us. And when we think about legacy, I think about this place. One person we didn't think earlier today, Mr. Burton right here. And Mr. Burton doing a fine job with this facility. I take a moment to just give him a round of applause. But the legacy in this county, specifically, or agriculture, and specifically beef cattle and poultry production, and Dad just loved those things. We love working with people in those areas, and the rich legacy, the rich heritage that we have. Outstanding agriculture teachers who've been through this program throughout history, and the ones that we still have here today. And again, it goes back to all those working together in a community, a great community, people helping each other, working together. I guess I'm mindful of another parable. They asked Jesus one time, what do I need to do to get to heaven? And he says, love God and love your neighbor. And this guy asked, well, who is my neighbor? And of course, Jesus goes on to tell the story of the Good Samaritan. And the summary of that is this: we're so worried about who my neighbor is. And Jesus just answered, said, just be a neighbor. And that was the legacy that my dad left, and that's the legacy and the challenge for each of us tonight. I can't thank you enough for this, for our family. It means the world to us, and hopefully that will stay in this crowd here, and we can be that legacy and help others. So thank you so much, and appreciate your time.
Thank you guys. You did a great job. And our final recipient, and only due to the fact that we received alphabetically, is Dr. Thomas C. Weaver. As we used to say at the university, said the TC stood for Top Cat. Y'all ever call him Top Cat when y'all picture? I don't know if very chronic, y'all would call him Top Cat. Yeah, we did that at the university too. Incidentally, if you were one of Dr. Weaver's apprentice teachers who trained under the NBA, you stand. I think we got to see up here, don't we? I kid Bill Lott. He always said, I was there when Mr. Farmer, student taught there, when Mr. Moss, student taught there, when Danny Perkins, student taught there. So, Bill stayed in high school so long, he got to be with all of them. Now, while I didn't have Dr. Weaver as being a student in Jackson County, he was my agricultural education professor at the University of Georgia. And he worked with me more closely as a first-year teacher, and he was a mentor to all of us on that, and came around and saw us, make sure we were surviving, and also facilitating summer in-service workshops for ag teachers. And Dr. Weaver had a unique gift for, you wanted to please him, not necessarily because you were scared of him, but because you just didn't want to disappoint him. So, and I don't know if Jimmy Mock was at this or teaching this or whatever. We had a forestry workshop one time at a think camp, and this tells you how long ago it was. I was a lot younger and a lot healthier before I got kicked by a steer. Dr. Weaver needs somebody to climb up to the top of the tree and tie a ribbon at a 6-inch top for saw timber, which now is an 8-inch top, and a 3-inch top for pulpwood, which now you go all the way up. Well, I volunteered to do it, and the 6-inch top was bad. That 3-inch top, those trees get waving a little bit on it. And I was 24 years old, dude, so a lot more nimble, but I was still real happy when I got back on terra firma. No doubt about that. Now, at this time, I've had a request of one of Dr. Weaver's students to, and he was also a former, one of many Jackson County State officers, and another legend of West Jackson, Barry Cronk. So Barry will come up and he's got a few words he wants to speak before I call up Dr. David Weaver.
Well, thank you, Mr. Burton. Let's give him a round of applause. Congratulations for what you've made this facility. The history you're making here is pretty amazing, and what you're leading for the future is even more amazing. Thank you for what you do. I have to talk a little bit about Mr. Weaver. Most of y'all don't know Mr. Weaver, do you? He basically left our community in '72 and went to Akron and became a professor after a few years. But let me tell you what he was. Probably the best teacher you ever walked the hall of Jackson County. Can I give him a greater compliment? Probably not. How many children did he influence? It didn't matter if you were poor, rich, smart, or dumb. God kept you find you a place and make you be successful. David Clark, I'll never forget the cookie guy that saw the law. Remember that? And that day, part of the day, you had to see where you broke the cross cut and one was buzz off. Well, the cookie was supposed to be free in school. Did they Mr. Weaver on to figure out he was supposed to be out of that buzz off too? So we always won that contest. We won part of the field day for them. We won land day. We won primary procedure. And David's going to tell you more about that. But there was not a contest. We didn't win. And I will never forget him telling us, I have prepared you. I expect you. What a difference in our society today. I expect you to win. I don't expect you to come in second. I don't expect you to get a trophy for being here. I expect you to win. What a blessing my life has done. What a blessing my life has had in the future. He opened more doors for me than anyone else in the world. He things that he taught me. I've used my whole life. I see your ag program now, and it's only a shadow of what that ag program was then. But we've had to change it to meet the time, to meet the children of today, the parents of today. Oh my goodness, if we could go back and bring them back and teach it again, what would it be worth? This family here, I'm so glad to see y'all tonight. Most of you haven't seen this house. And I can tell you stories about Dave, but I won't, Dave. I can tell you one story about Clark, because he's only a year old tonight. We have a lot of fun together. First time, I guess he ever spent the night in Atlanta, Georgia, at the Billboard Hotel. Oh my God, thank God they pulled that place down. We were basic kids, we can't go anywhere like that. Anyway, you ever been out there, you got to go. Spend the night in Atlanta and have our state convention. That was a pretty big deal. We're going to make it now that they're out. That was a pretty big deal. And I'm going to finish up here. You don't hear me talk. Don't hear David. But I remember Mr. Weaver's first state officer was Elton Knight. And that was when I was in the 8th grade. Elton was the state officer. Elton went on to become the CEO and chairman of Wayne Farms and Continental Grain. Next in line was David. And David went on to run Auburn University. I mean, what else can we say? You know, he came from Georgia and went to Auburn. I know he ran it. I mean, he had to. David became a distinguished Auburn professor and did a lot of research for the cotton and stuff. And then Clark came along. And Clark, he sent it all the way to what? The top of the ranks in the farm fertilizer? Almost. I mean, that's a pretty big deal for a bunch of country boys. Girls, I'm not sure what y'all got to keep up with y'all. They kept up with these two. But I know y'all were just as successful. Just as successful. And we were blessed to be in that family. And like mom and dad. We were blessed. West Jackson was a better place today. He wanted to change it because Thomas Weaver was there. Our school was 500 people. It was 46 of my graduating class. If it had not been for Thomas Weaver, I'm not sure we'd have had a school. How do you get the name Topcat? Well, TC is for it. But the real reason is, he was the man. There wasn't no BS about Topcat. He was the man. He ran that school example. He expected you to live up to it. He expected you to achieve. And he gave you the opportunity. That was the most amazing. He gave you the opportunity. Modest life, but one last story, and I'm gonna shut up. We went to national land grant contest. We won the state. We were in Oklahoma, probably me and Clark, and probably who else, Roger May, Roger was probably there. Who else was it, Mark, you remember? You know, a long time ago. There was 4 of us. We went out there and this is where we fought. And it was a big old Ford Galaxy or something, a big old car. But anyway, we left out there on Friday, come home, and livestock judge was dead for him and something there. And I don't know that day, I wanted to do that. He go all the way home, got home. That's how dedicated that man is. He's gonna give you your opportunity to do yourself, no matter how hard it is. You know, I'll take you all over the best day, all the special things off of the store. We're back in pickup, trying to build on his house. In fact, the thing pickup other than my finger, about $30. And so I was in the 8th grade, we rode the pickup. You never wanted me to count, though. We were pretty repetitive hard. We all love count, but yeah, I love count. We got each other, we had a lot of fun. The truth of the matter was, why he didn't love them, because they made me money. He didn't make money. Now, count to it. You just trick about it, it was cat. I'm testing that, but, just wanted to mention this, what a wonderful human being, the world's a better place to live. You know, he made a difference in a lot of young lives. What else can you ask? Thank y'all.
Professor Emeritus, Brian Fanstein, Auburn, is very, he's going to come and speak on behalf of Dr. Thomas Rubens.
Well, I have to correct a little bit about what Barry said. I did not run Auburn University by any stretch of the imagination. I taught a lot of students and acting and did a lot of stuff. There was other people running that place besides me. There are 3 professions that I have the utmost respect for: nurses, teachers, and farmers. Nurses, because they take care of you. If you've ever been in the hospital and been sick, you know what I'm talking about. Teachers, because they help people learn how to take care of themselves. Farmers, well, the answer to that one is obvious. I mean, that's how we are able to have fine meals like this and enjoy the high standard of living that we have in this country. The one thing that those 3 professions have in common is that nobody goes into it with the idea of making a lot of money. It's not going to happen. Thomas Weaver was a teacher, and he was also a farmer. We had a small farm. I'm not sure whether a lot of it wasn't with the idea of keeping my brother and I busy, but we had a small farm. And so, and being a teacher, of course, Barry spoke very well of the impact that teachers can have on people's lives. Thomas Weaver was born in Hart County in 1927, the 6th of 8 children. Pretty inauspicious start. 2 years after he was born, the stock market crashed and we entered into a depression. They mostly relied on cotton as their source of income. Cotton at that time dropped to a nickel a pound. It was very difficult to make any money farming in those days. But he managed to get through it. He graduated from Hart County High School in 1944 at the age of 16. They only had 11 grades there. Now you would think, being that far down, and they grew up on a farm, a real farm that was pretty much self-sufficient. They had chickens, they had cows, they had row crops. With all those boys there, he was the 5th. There were 6 boys in a row, and he was the 5th one. And he would have a lot of help on the farm. 2 of his older brothers, the oldest brother, had already, by the time he got old enough, had already fell to him at that time in helping run that family farm. At the same time, between then and the time he graduated from Georgia, and he tells me, he always told me that he graduated from Georgia in 2.5 years. I think that's possible. But mostly I think he was telling me that while I was struggling through my 4 years there, to see if I would speed things up a little bit. That didn't help very much. But he said he graduated from Georgia in 2.5 years. He came to Brazelton High School, that's what it was in those days, Brazelton High School, in 1950. Now, if you know anything about Brazelton, it's not really a town. It's just a sort of more or less a wide place in the road. And everybody lived out in the country. There were no town people or people that lived in town. There were a few, but not many. People lived out in the country. And so we would, I was a preschooler at that time, we would travel out with him all the time out to the countryside, visiting the students and their parents, looking at their projects, FFA projects, and all of that stuff. And I remember those days very well. Barry mentioned it. Yes, I was trying to recall it. Barry mentioned it. Barry said he graduated with 46 people. Wasn't that what you said, Barry?
26.
27. That sounds a little more realistic. Yes, I don't remember 46 people ever graduated from Jackson County High School. There were 17 in my class. We're talking about a small school, very small. Probably, I don't know, one of the smallest schools in the state. We didn't have a football team. We couldn't possibly have a football team. We could have had half a team, maybe. We wouldn't have been very good. We didn't have a football team. We didn't have a marching band. We didn't have any of that stuff. What we had was an FFA chapter. And that FFA chapter, Jackson County FFA, changed the name in around 1958, I think, showed up at every event, every contest. They were the people to beat. Jackson County High was the school to beat. Haiti Fleming Commerce was afraid of us. Kenneth Bridges at Oconee County was afraid of us. Seafred England, Wine and Air, they all wanted to be as good as we were. Well, I'll tell you one more story. I'll make it quick. We were at a land judging contest, and it was an area contest. It's the first level before you get to the state contest. You had to win the area to go to the state. And this land judging teams consisted of about 5 people. Everybody would go out and judge, and at the end of the competition, get together, and what they would normally do is they would announce the individual winners first. There were about 40 high schools participating. They would announce the individual winners first. And then they would announce the school that won the contest. Well, the fellow who was doing the announcing, he got up and he looked at his piece of paper that he had his stuff written down, and he says, I'm going to have to do it differently. I'm going to have to do it differently today. And so he announced the school winner first. And the reason he did that was because if he had announced the individual winners first, top 4 places were from Jackson County. That would have taken all the suspense out of the winning school. And that was just, that wasn't, it was sort of typical, but not really. We didn't win everything. I don't want to give you that impression, but we did win our share. And so I'm gonna end with, well, let me say one other thing. He taught everything. This is what was amazing to me. He could teach anything. How to wire a 3-way switch. About the declining balance method of accounting. You know, everything under this. I don't know how he knew all this stuff. He picked it up somewhere and he was able to transfer that knowledge to his students in a very, very effective way. But he was very good at what he did. And as Barry said, he always strove to make us the best that we could be. There were 3 things that I remember he taught me, at least, and that he would say, I hear him say these things over in various times. And they were these 3 things. small loan company. They don't call them that now, they call them payday loan companies now. But it was the same thing. We had the same thing back in those days. And the third thing, never, ever called anybody a fool. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to David, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you, John. And I want to be sure to announce that we'd like all the families to come to the conference room when we at the adjournment of the Hall of Fame ceremony, where we display pictures of the new inductees. Want to have a picture taken with all the families back there in front of that Hall of Fame wall. And also these men and their biographies that we wrote up that are on that wall will be found in the Jackson County Government website at the Added Facility page very soon. So at this point, I'm going to call on our Jackson County's teaching coordinator, Greg Pickett, to give some very brief comment remarks regarding Jackson County Ag.
I got the mic, I'm not taking that from David Burton tonight. I will be brief, but I am going to make some points, because there's some very important people here tonight. I really appreciate them, appreciate all of y'all, but I didn't know Barry Conference would be here, so I wasn't going to say anything about it. But since he's here, I'm going to say this about it. I was in my second year of college, and I about had enough of it. No, I had enough of it. I was not college material, as some people have told folks in the last few years. But I found out that if you support somebody, encourage somebody, we can all be college material. And I went to Barry after 2 years of college. He had hired some of my friends that, I still call them friends, Barry, to work under him and work in the poultry business. And I pretty much begged Barry to hire me so I wouldn't have to finish college. Barry, tonight I want to tell you thank you for encouraging me and telling me you weren't hiring me until I finished college. And he did hire me. And I did not have to take my final exams, which I told him tonight, to go to work for him. I didn't know at that point in time that several of the people he had working for him didn't have to have a college education. And in the poultry business, you don't always have to have one. It's not required for a lot of things that you do. But I did. 22 years later, I needed that college education to be able to take this job as a county coordinator in the ag action in Jackson County. So thank you very much, Barry Connor. And I encourage everybody to do the most and the hardest job you can do. I encourage you to go after your goals. And Barry, thank you for that encouragement and help make it through it. Thank you. All right. Like I said, and many people have said it another way, but God bless you, Barry Connor. So now back to the speech I was supposed to give. It's supposed to be short and brief. Farm gate value in Jackson County is still $244 million plus, maybe closer to $250 million with the price of cattle these days. So we got a lot of ag going in Jackson County still. I'm supposed to talk about the importance of ag history in Jackson County. So I'm going to go back in the 1980s. That's when I started kind of remembering statistics. I had Billy Moss as the ag teacher, and in the late 80s, poultry production was number 1 or number 2 in the state. Ag Commissioner Tommy Irvin was our ag commissioner for 42 years. During that time, I was a kid. I used a pencil that said Tommy Irvin on it. I grew up to become a Farm Bureau president. I sat next to Tommy Irvin and propped him up when I was Farm Bureau president when he was falling asleep at a Farm Bureau state meeting a few times. And Tommy said that poultry litter turned the red hills green and it cleared up our streams. It did a lot of that and it helped us a lot. So we wouldn't have what we have and we wouldn't be as green as we are had we not had poultry. What else has poultry done? It didn't just turn things green. We're feeding the world. Poultry is the major protein source in the whole world. And that started right in this area. We're still very, very big in poultry. Beef, cattle, and hay, still really big in Jackson County. Beef, cattle, and hay, top 10 most of the time. In the last few years, we slipped a little bit in some, but hay production is still number 4 in farm gate value, over $10 million worth of hay every year in Jackson County, as long as we don't hit the droughts we've had the last 3 years. Beef cattle is still 14th in farm gate value, over $14 million worth of beef cattle, probably $15 million with the cattle prices right now. We're usually a year ahead, a year behind in these reports. So we could talk about something else that's new and upcoming, because agriculture does need to change. We all need to change a little bit to survive. Jackson County's changing. 10 years ago, the honeybee worth in Jackson County was about $8,000 worth of honeybees. Today, the honeybee worth is over $157,000. That's not talking about the honey, that's just the worth of the bees, if you're buying the bees and the colonies and the nukes and things. So things have changed. We look for new ways to have agriculture in Jackson County. But what's more important than all of these things? What's more important than the animals and all the other agriculture? The people. Look next to you. You're not here by chance tonight, and we won't be like this again, ever again, with people that surround us right now. We'll probably miss a few of our folks that are in here by next year. So we got a lot to be thankful for. It's really the people in Jackson County that's behind agriculture that we got, that's the most important. The people. Dr. Shirley, he supported us in so many ways. He did the health papers and supported us at different things. And when I was growing up, I went to buy feed store, supported ag students, the farmers, the community. Ed Tolbert, because he was the closest in my community, and Alex has told this story that his first job ever was on Pippin Farms. So Alex, we have some roots. Jay, we have some roots. So I knew them the most. What did Ed do? He supported youth. He supported 4-H and FFA. He supported the ag community. Dr. Weaver, he was probably the first Board of Commissioners person that I remember giving an FFA member a pat on the back and congratulations. That was probably for Storm Greenhand that I got that year when he was on the Board of Education. So school leadership, he did a great job there. Created some wonderful teachers that created a lot of impact. So he was on the school board as well, served the community. I'll go back to Ed. Dr. Burton will say a lot of times he knows what my job is there, line up folks. It's because I like to encourage folks when they're coming in the show ring. Ed did a lot of that. He was, go do your best in it, do the best you can. And when you come out and you can't get loose from you, he said, you did the best you could. You'll do better next time. He was always encouraging. So hopefully I can always do that as well. All these folks are always giving back. And that's what made them an ag leader. That's what makes them worthy of being in the Hall of Fame. So love your animals, love the green grass, love whatever you're growing, enjoy all of that, but love the people the most. And that's what these people have done. And that's what the history of agriculture in Jackson County is really all about.
Giving away an ag center hat is Stephanie Blows. Another ag center hat going to Susan Watts. All right, another ag center hat going to Miss Gail Weaver. Gift basket from Jackson EMC going to Marie Pittman. Another ag center hat going to Mr. Bob Griffith. The other baskets go to Miss Ann McDonald. Got another ag center hat going to Mr. Bo Brissy. The last ag center hat is not going to me. I know. I might pronounce this wrong. I think it's Carrie Griffith. Is that right? Right there. Thank y'all for the support of this event. We look forward to it every year, and it was kind of a baby of ours. And Leadership Jackson, there's a couple of us here from that class. Thank y'all so much for being here. We really appreciate it. Yeah, and families, if you will, come back here and take a photo in the Hall of Fame there in the conference room. We may do one big group photo and then each individual family. Thank y'all again.